Bane? Really? Again? And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I'm Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, back with another episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Rankings. This week, I read 20 books, and let's just jump right into it. Before I do that, though, let me say that not a single book this week really blew me away. So my top 5 was really hard, and I was like going back and forth with a couple of titles all the way up to the end. But I'm pretty confident with the way they ended up. So let's get into it. So number 20, Lowlifes. Number 1. This is a new book from IDW. I just felt like it was kind of confusing, and there wasn't really anybody to follow in this series. So I'm not going to come back. Number 19, I Hate Fairyland number 20, which, surprise, surprise, was the final issue. And spoiler alert, the whole reason that this was so low for me when it's been so high for me consistently is that they did the St. Elsewhere thing. I think it was St. Elsewhere. They did the Dallas thing. It was all a dream. Not a fan. Number 18, Dungeons and Dragons, Evil at Baldur's Gate. The art was the problem here. I felt like it was confusing who was who. The story was okay. I'm just not feeling this series. I think the last D&D series that I read, I can't remember which one it was much stronger than this one. And this one just has not grabbed me yet. Number 17, Immortal Hulk, number 2. Consider this one dropped from me. I didn't like the first issue. This one at first seemed a little stronger to me, but then it devolved into this hitchhiker / Alfred Hitchcock kind of I don't even Twilight Zone kind of thing, where the Hulk is this evil monster meting out justice to random evildoers at night. I don't like the direction. Number 16, Captain America number 1. Better than the last volume of Captain America, better than that whole time travel story, but the story came too late, and it's still just not a story that I'm totally invested in yet, so we'll see. Number 15, a new book from Dark Horse called Quantum Age number 1. I thought this was a solid start. I don't know if it's going to keep my interest throughout, but the concept of it, where you have this Martian that is supposedly last of his kind, or he's one of the few, and it's illegal to be there, and he's it was just an interesting concept. I don't want to give it too much away, but I don't know. I'll come back for the next one and see if I'm still on board. Number 14, Avengers number 4. Again, I'm not totally invested in this arc, and I think as the first issue I absolutely loved, and progressively they've gotten a little bit lower for me, and I think this was the lowest of them, and it's slowed down to a crawl, and there's a lot of explanatory dialogue throughout this series so far, because they're not doing a good job of interweaving the history behind all this. They're having to stop and take long beats to tell you about it, and that just takes me out of a story. Number 13, Deadpool number 2. Not as strong as the first issue, but still fun. I still enjoyed it. But again, it's a middle-of-the-road book for me, and it has been for a very long time. Number 12, Unnatural number 1. This is a new book from Image, originally published in Italy. I love the art. The art was gorgeous in this book, and the story was pretty interesting too. I mean, it's kind of a social commentary book in a way, but it's this illegal love thing because interspecies aren't allowed to pair. So it's a very interesting take on that, and it has some comical elements to it as well. Number 11, Catwoman number 1. I usually love Joelle Jones's art. Here I felt like it suffered because of the inks and coloring. And story-wise, I thought it was just okay. It was kind of a mediocre story. There were some nice character beats. My favorite scene was when Alfred sent her costume back to her and she threw it across the room, and you could see the emotion in her face and just in her actions and everything. I thought that was a really powerful scene, but overall it was just, okay, this is kind of a typical Catwoman story. Number 10, Death in Glory, Death of Glory. I think it's Death of Glory. Number 1 or number 3. Jeez, I'm getting so confused. The title and the issue, but Death of Glory number 3. This was better than the last issue. Not as good as the first, but it takes us in a good direction. It was kind of her chance to recap us on her history and her past and how she came to this point, and the past of Red and her motivations, her reasons why she's having to steal this money. So a pretty decent issue, just not quite as strong as that first one. Hasn't quite grabbed me as much since then. Number 9, Doctor Strange number 3, another solid read. Really enjoying this book. It's just outside of those top books for me, but it is my top 10. So another strong issue where he has to encounter the Super Skrull, which was really interesting to see the first encounter between Doctor Strange and the Super Skrull. Number 8, Hunt for Wolverine, Weapon Lost, number 3. I've really enjoyed this series. I don't think this was the strongest issue of the series as well. I think the first one was stronger. Second one with that cliffhanger was really strong, but this one, I don't know, it didn't quite deliver as well as I had hoped from the last issue, but still a good issue. Number 7, Paper Girls, number 22. This book goes in these phases where things happen and then it slows down for several issues. Now, while there were a lot of good character beats in this issue, it still wasn't, there wasn't enough movement for me, and that's often my complaint with this book. There's not enough movement, and these character beats don't make up for the lack of story progression. Number 6, Marvel Rising, Squirrel Girl and Miss Marvel, number 1. That's one of my shifting things that I forgot to write down. This one almost made my top 5. I thought it was a really fun issue, and that's just what it was. It was just this mindless fun. The only thing that took it down for me was so much reading, and the dialogue is fine, but I was never a fan, and it's one of the reasons why I dropped Squirrel Girl, of the writing in the margins. I think it's overuse, it's unneeded, it's unnecessary, and it's not a part of the charm. It's just kind of annoying and takes me out of the story. But other than that, it was a fun issue. I enjoyed it. Alright, so getting into my top 5. Number 5 for me, Man of Steel. Number 6, final issue. I thought this was a nice ending. The art was definitely much stronger in this issue because it was Jay Fabik doing all the art this time instead of just that middle section. And I love that scene at first where Superman is just kind of toying with Rogolzar, and then you get the full explanation of where John and Lois are. That's kind of going to lead into the main series coming out starting next week. So yeah, I thought it was a decent ending and better than the last couple of issues of the series. Number 4, Infinity Countdown Champions, number 2. Another very strong issue of this series. I mean, it's a 2-issue series, I think, with great ramifications for Nova. Didn't really see that coming, but it made sense, and it was done in just this kind of here you go kind of way, but it was devastating to Sam. So love how that played out. Number 3, Justice League number 3. I wrote it down as issue 1. That was wrong. Justice League issue 3. I thought this was a far better issue, far stronger issue than issue 2. Like, issue 1 was really good. Issue 2 was like just all over the place and not really coherent at all. And then issue 3 picked it back up. My only concern is, okay, Sinestro again with another core. It's like get a new character, but still, I love the way it played out with John being under that thrall of Sinestro. And I don't know. I thought it was just it was a nice issue to kind of explain some things. They touched on why the moon being destroyed hasn't caused chaos on Earth. They actually addressed that. They addressed different things throughout the issue. You had some nice character moments with John Johns being drawn to these statues or whatever. These I don't know what you call them, but whatever. Anyway, really, really solid issue. So there you go. Number 2, Batman number 50. Just fell out of my top spot, and only because of the last page. I thought this was a fantastic story. I did not feel trolled. That's just, I saw that kind of coming. Something's gonna happen. I felt like the way it was handled with the love letters to each other was very poetic, and I liked the way it was delivered. The only problem I have is what I said at the very beginning of this video. Bane? Really? Again? I'm tired of Bane. I'm sick of Bane. I purposely did not read that Conquest maxi series because of Bane. Find somebody new. Okay, so my number one pick, X-Men Gold, number 31. And this one, I actually went back and forth. This was actually outside my top 5, and then I got to thinking about it more and more. And I really liked the way that they handled the aftermath between Kitty and Peter. The way they kind of did a callback where they described in earlier issues how when they were apart he called her Kitty, and when they were together he called her Katya, and as he walks away in the beginning of this issue he calls her Kitty, and it was just like that's that finality, and it was very powerful emotionally if you picked up on that thread. And then you have this whole thing going on with Rachel, and that kind of tips into Days of Future Past and all this stuff, and the way that was revealed, what was going on there with her, it makes for a very interesting first issue of this new arc. So there you go. Those are my weekly rankings. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe and notification bell, and please let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with me, what your favorite books were, and tune into Frontline Live. I'm going to try to be on this week. Kind of iffy because I've got some plans. It's my mom's birthday. We're taking her out, and so I'm going to try to be back in time, but no guarantees. So hopefully I'll be there, and if not, you have my rankings, so hopefully you enjoyed them. You can follow me on my YouTube channel and on Facebook and Twitter at Brant Fowler, and you can follow everything I do at lastnumberpress.com and Last Number Press on social media, Zone 4 Podcast, zone4podcast.com, and of course right back here on Comic Frontline next week for a brand new episode of Brant's Weekly Comic Ranking. So thanks for watching. Until next time, see you in the next video. Bye.